Tell us about Capricorn Clark and whether you believe she is a credible witness for the prosecution to make a racketeering case against Sean Diddy Combs.
Right now, we want to transition as we are following the very latest of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. It takes us out to the Big Apple, giving you a beautiful skyline shot there in New York City. Sean Diddy Combs will return to court today as his sex trafficking trial resumes after the holiday weekend.
Hey everybody, this is another law and crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients weren't properly warned about this risk. It's free to check, just takes a few minutes, and you don't pay unless they win. So scan the QR code on screen, click the link below, or head over to forthepeople.com/LCDepo to see if you qualify.
Sean Diddy Combs, hip-hop's iconic titan and music mogul, now faces some of the darkest allegations of his career. Accusations ranging from death threats, kidnapping, to an alleged murder plot are rocking the music industry and his legacy. The courtroom battle is fierce, with explosive testimonies painting a grim picture of intimidation and violence behind the scenes. Yet, amidst these allegations, some respected industry veterans stand firmly in Diddy's corner, questioning the motives and credibility of key witnesses. Suge Knight, a legendary figure and longtime rival, recently made headlines defending Diddy and calling for justice. Today, we dive deep into this sensational trial, exploring both sides of the story, the damning accusations, the unexpected support, and the public's divided reaction. Stay with us as we unravel the truth behind the headlines. Suge Knight, co-founder of Death Row Records and an iconic figure in hip-hop history, openly expressed his belief that Sean Diddy Combs should be cleared of these charges. Despite their well-known past rivalry, Suge stated unequivocally, "Puffy definitely should walk." He questioned the reliability of Capricorn Clark, the prosecution's key witness, highlighting a complicated background including a controversial settlement involving $1 million payment. Suge painted a complex picture of Capricorn's history and suggested that the allegations may not fully reflect the truth. Importantly, he noted the conspicuous absence of other significant figures from Diddy's circle in the courtroom, arguing that the prosecution's focus on Diddy alone was unfair. This defense from such a respected figure adds an unexpected layer to the trial, challenging viewers and jurors alike to question who is telling the full story.
I definitely can hear you. What's good with you, man? Well,
all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity, Suge. Co-founder Death Row Records. For everybody at home, of course, you know who Suge Knight is. So
well,
you
no
keep coming up.
There's only one founder.
All right, the one and only, the OAO,
yeah.
The OAO, Suge Knight.
Yeah.
So tell us about Capricorn Clark and whether you believe she is a credible witness for the prosecution to make a racketeering case against Sean Diddy Combs.
Well, look. I say this all the time. Puffy and I are not friends, but Puffy should definitely walk. At the end of the day, how I know Capricorn and when I first heard about Capricorn, it was back when I was doing prison time. When I was doing prison time, it was a guy that didn't work for Death Row, but he was over the security company. This guy, Capricorn, broke his windshield in the back of his truck. He wanted her to pay for it. She couldn't pay for it. A guy named Reggie White Jr. told her, well, you got to have sex with me or you pay for it. So she couldn't pay for it, so he forced her to have sex with him, but they were still talking after that, right? But the most important thing is that it was other executives that was involved in Puffy's life. And for Puffy to be the only guy that gets on the stand is a sad day for hip-hop. Because once Capricorn had got beaten up allegedly, everybody said, well, she got her ass whooped. And when she was approached by an executive from Interscope, and you got to remember, Capricorn wasn't the artist on Interscope. Puffy wasn't doing business with the guy in Interscope. If you guys want his name, I'll tell you. And when they talked to him, Interscope gave Capricorn $1 million, a check, for don't say nothing about the incident with her and Puffy. She got mad because she had to pay taxes on it. And she thought it was a settlement where she didn't have to pay taxes on it. So when Jimmy Iovine gave her that check, that's when all hell broke off. But at the same time, I don't think this is a case where Puffy should be going to prison. And
Do you
I've seen
believe is Capricorn believable with this story with Diddy?
This is what I do know. I was in New York. And when I was in New York, it was me and a limo driver. That's it. I'm in different spots eating just by myself. I walks out, I see Capricorn, and I see another. So those two hung out with me in New York, from restaurants to running around to doing whatever. So I don't know if the part that she was so scared of Puffy that they wouldn't talk to me, because I'm hanging out with them in New York, just us three. And I'm not here to badger nobody, but at the same time, when Reggie Wright Jr. basically made Capricorn, she said it over and over and over, I don't want to have sex with this fat I don't know if I can cuss on here, I just have sex with the fat man.
Too late.
But, okay, but they did. And she continued to be around, right? But when it's all said and done, how could every person who's involved with Puffy is not on the stand, except for Puffy?
I get
at some point,
I get it.
The law got to be blind.
I get it. Suge,
And
thank you very much for giving us.
Hey, for sure.
Go
One
ahead.
last thing before I go, you got to remember, Death Row and the employees in Bad Boy was really good friends. A lot of them. Reggie Wright Jr. and the other guy that be with Puffy, I forgot his name, the other fat dude, right? But they called Reggie Wright Jr. to do security for Puffy and Biggie the night Biggie got shot. So I can't see that they will look at Capricorn affiliation with Death Row that bad and that type of threats. I'll be surprised. Gene, that's his name. Gene and Reggie Wright Jr. is great friends. So that's got to be understanding that something's there. And we just can't jump to conclusions and say, throw Puffy in the bus. Like I said, him and I are not friends, but Puffy definitely should walk. What's right is right, wrong is wrong. You guys enjoy your day. Nice talking to you.
Suge, I appreciate it. We'll speak again. Thank you for your perspective.
Hey, remember one thing. Don't live reverse. You got to live and drive. Go forward, not backwards. Enjoy yourself.
Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former personal assistant, delivered one of the most chilling testimonies in this trial. She detailed a workplace environment rife with fear and intimidation, describing incidents that sound like scenes from a thriller, including being locked inside an abandoned building, forced to undergo repeated lie detector tests, and receiving threats to her life. The most shocking revelation was an incident where Diddy allegedly armed himself with a gun and led a mission to confront rapper Kid Cudi, fueled by jealousy over his relationship with Cassie Ventura. Clark's testimony paints a picture of a criminal enterprise operating behind the facade of a glamorous music empire. These allegations, if believed, support the prosecution's claim that Diddy orchestrated a pattern of illegal activity, ranging from coercion to attempted violence.
Well, in yet another big day of testimony, Sean Diddy Combs' former employee, Capricorn Clark, detailed a years-long pattern of alleged intimidation, violent outbursts, workplace abuse, all while working for the hip-hop mogul. And you know why her testimony is so important? Because Clark, who served as Combs' personal assistant and later as Cassandra Ventura's creative director, she arguably helps prove the racketeering charge in this case. More specifically, the underlying kidnapping, arson, maybe even forced labor underlying crimes that support the pattern of racketeering activity. Remember, prosecutors need to prove at least 2 underlying crimes to get the racketeering count. And what she apparently told these jurors was a lot. Even that Combs allegedly threatened to kill her, that she was forced to take a lie detector test. Okay, so we're going to break all this down, and to do that, I want to bring on now Law and Crime's Elizabeth Milner, who's been inside that courtroom throughout the trial every day for every piece of testimony, and that includes the testimony of Capricorn Clark. Elizabeth, great to see you. So Capricorn Clark, we knew she was going to take the stand after the explosive testimony from Kid Cudi last week where he mentioned her. Before we even get into any specifics about her testimony, just remind our audience who she is exactly, how she even got involved with the Sean Combs enterprise, or that's more of a legal term if we're talking about a criminal enterprise, the Sean Combs business. How about that?
Well, Capricorn Clark is a name that we've been hearing about a number of times, right? We know that she had been working under Diddy's employment for a number of years, but she really kind of broke it down today just as far as what position that she had held at which time. So when she was first brought on to kind of the bad boy orbit, or the Diddy orbit, we could also say, this was around the 2004 to 2006 timeframe when Capricorn Clark was just Diddy's assistant at the time. But then after a couple promotions, she went on to become the director of marketing. She worked for the women's department of Sean John. And then she went on to global branding, and something that she had held as a position from about 2008 to 2012. Then there was some time lapse because a lot of things had happened after that time period. But around 2016 to 2018, she was rehired again, and she was hired actually this time to work as Cassie's brand director. So she had worked pretty much kind of from the ground up, in a way, if you think about it, from just an executive assistant role all the way up until she was essentially just kind of monitoring, or at least managing, Cassie's brand, how she looked, how she would appear in press and red carpets, that sort of thing. And what else we know about Capricorn Clark is she was one of the other people, including Diddy and one of his security guards, who went over to Kid Cudi's house while Diddy was essentially looking for the rapper because he was in a relationship with Cassie around the time. And so this was a person that a lot of us have been anticipating her testimony today, because a lot of us just wanted to know what she had to say. We had already heard from Cassie, and we already heard from Kid Cudi last week, and now we're hearing from Capricorn Clark. So she's really kind of tied into just different orbits, or different tangles of the web within Diddy's orbit, I should say.
And my understanding is that she starts her testimony by telling the jury that right from day one of her employment, Combs threatened her life. And I think this has something to do with, because she had worked for Suge Knight in the past, who's a big rival, by the way, of Diddy, if anybody doesn't know.
I know, if people don't know kind of the rivalry, how it started between Diddy and Suge Knight, it's like you're living under a rock, essentially. But I thought it was interesting, just Capricorn Clark's connection to Suge Knight, and that she said that Suge Knight is the father of her best friend's children. Now, she didn't name who this best friend was while she was testifying today, but she did reveal that she had previously signed with Death Row way before she had worked with Bad Boy. So when she was hired at Bad Boy, of course, Diddy was going to have a conversation with her, and the conversation, according to Capricorn Clark, was pretty tense from what she had described. So she said this conversation that they had was just on her first day of the job as a personal assistant. So this was around the 2004 time frame, and she said on that first day that she, Diddy, and one of Diddy's security guards named Paul Alford, who we have known about for a while now, he's actually referred to by other witnesses as Uncle Paulie, that Diddy, Capricorn Clark, and Uncle Paulie all went to Central Park. And Central Park's a great place, right? But this conversation that was had at Central Park, not a great place, or not coming from a great place, according to Capricorn Clark's testimony. So she had explained that she went over to the park, and that she was kind of describing Uncle Paulie's demeanor as menacing, and she even described him kind of as a linebacker when describing just the size of him. And she said that around this time that Diddy had told her that he would have her killed if she had anything to do with Suge Knight. And this was kind of a moment in the courtroom where a lot of people were just like, oh my God, what? Because when you're seeing Diddy inside that courtroom, he's very toned down. He looks kind of like a Huxtable, maybe possibly a Mr. Rogers, where he's just in a sweater, he's in an undershirt, he's just wearing slacks. Like, he's not the Diddy that we've seen on red carpets. He's not the Diddy we've seen on social media. So he looks toned down inside the courtroom. So to hear that he had allegedly wanted her killed because she had this previous relationship with Suge Knight, it was kind of just like a, oh my goodness moment a little bit, because this was kind of the first time we were hearing about this. But according to Capricorn Clark, when this alleged threat was being made, that Diddy appeared very calm during this. And again, Uncle Paulie was calm, and Capricorn Clark has said Uncle Paulie didn't say anything when Diddy had allegedly made this threat. Instead, Uncle Paulie remained calm. He was stoic. But Capricorn responded to the threat saying, we'll have to see. And Capricorn admitted while she was on the stand that she should have been more transparent. You know, hindsight's always 20/20, but she said she should have been more transparent just about the overall relationship with Suge Knight, because again, Suge Knight and Diddy go way back, and not in necessarily a good way either. You know, they started off as as kind of colleagues in a way, or at least cordial from my understanding of it. And then things escalated. Obviously, Suge Knight used to kind of be on the West Coast side with Death Row, whereas Biggie and even Diddy represented the East Coast side, and that was Bad Boy, of course, that we know. And so then while we were inside the gallery and while we were inside the courtroom, we see a bunch of exhibit photos. And the exhibit photos are photos we've seen before. They were photos of D-Rock. D-Rock was a good friend of Biggie Smalls, according to Capricorn Clark. And this is something that we've known as well, too, because D-Rock was the one who had driven down another assistant to try to find Suge Knight that one time. So everything just kind of intertwines with itself. But really, I think the takeaway is just this beef carried on and on forever. And so then we saw another exhibit photo, this one of Ruben. Ruben is going to be kind of an important figure later on in Capricorn Clark's testimony. But we saw a photo of Ruben, aka Rue. He also goes by that, and that's actually D-Rock's little brother. Came and was hired after Capricorn Clark. And then we saw an exhibit photo of Roger Bonds, and he started around the same time as Capricorn Clark, and that again is another security guard. So these photos we've seen as government exhibits already. But then Capricorn Clark was asked, you know, did you observe Diddy with a gun? And she had mentioned one particular incident, and this was during the kidnapping incident. And then she had also discussed that there was a time before that Diddy had, he was doing kind of this like press events with 50 Cent, and that there was kind of this back and forth between 50 Cent and Diddy, because we know their beef also goes back years and years and years. But according to Capricorn Clark, when she was on the stand today, Diddy, who she refers to as Puff or Puffy while she's on the stand, told Chris Lighty, who used to work with 50 Cent, that I don't like the back and forth, I like guns. And that was kind of a way that the prosecution, I felt like, was really kind of coming out swinging as far as just, what did you observe with Diddy under your employment? What were the threats that were made? They really just kind of went at it right off of the bat.
No, look, for a racketeering conspiracy charge where prosecutors are saying that he operated a criminal enterprise that was engaged in a pattern of illegal activity, and there are all these underlying crimes, they have to convince this jury that he's essentially almost like a mafia boss, right? That he's a gang leader. And the more they can say who he surrounded himself with, and there was violence and threats and drugs and guns and bodyguards, that's how they build it up. Now, we'll get more into the specifics of the underlying charges they're trying to prove with racketeering, but just to give everybody a sense of what we're talking about, didn't you also describe having to take a lie detector test, this over missing jewelry, which she wouldn't be the first witness, the first former employee of Combs to testify in this trial about a lie detector test?
The media sentiment remains sharply divided. While harrowing testimonies expose a disturbing narrative of abuse and violence, supporters urge caution and demand due process. This trial not only scrutinizes Sean Diddy Combs, but also forces us to confront the complex realities of power, loyalty, and justice in the world of hip-hop. As jurors deliberate, the eyes of the industry and the public remain fixed on this high-profile courtroom drama. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the P. Diddy trial. For continuing updates, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.